In the early 1950s and throughout the early 1960s, the Western film genre had grown a bit stale. A lot of the American Westerns had the same lessons and moral teachings that all pretty much blended together. I'm not saying that these Westerns, such as The Rifleman, The Lone Ranger, Cheyenne, and Gunsmoke were bad Westerns, but if you look at them side by side, it's kinda hard to tell which is which. Now, personally, I love Westerns. My first real Western that I can remember watching was Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Going back to my main point, the Western film genre was in dire need of something new. This is where Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy steps in. All released in the US in 1967, but originally, these movies were made years prior. These movies were revolutionary in what a Western could be. The main hero isn't really even a hero, but more of an anti-hero. He's not necessarily trying to do what's right because it's the right thing to do, but more because it benefits him as well. He's a step back from the charming, stand-up, good guy cowboy. He doesn't look anything like the American cowboy hero that's clean-shaven with slick-back hair. To which we come to this scene. The scene that took this new and fresh anti-hero that revolutionized an entire genre. Clint Eastwood's new hero that, let's just be honest, looks so badass and so sleek. All of a sudden, we get this dialogue.
Don Miguel Rojo, I want to talk to you. Don Miguel, I hear you're hiring on men. Well, I might just be available. I gotta tell you before you hire me. I don't work cheap.
What does he mean by that? He's not thinking about taking on all four Baxters that humiliated him in front of the whole town, is he? As he keeps walking down towards the Baxters, he turns to the coffin maker and says to get 3 coffins ready. Now you're sitting on the edge of your seat, waiting in anticipation. The cinematography of this scene is done masterfully. Mixed with the music, this whole scene is amazing. Then we get to the dialogue between Joe and the Baxters. Joe tells them they upset his mule and wants them to apologize. Of course, they all start laughing. And in the most badass way, Joe looks up to them, cigarette smoke still coming from his mouth. Now the smiles and laughter that were coming off the faces of the Baxters are wiped clean. As the music fills you with suspense, the suspense is held for over 35 seconds, and then it's all over just as fast as it came. That's the genius behind this whole scene. Suspense and anticipation. Sergio Leone takes his time with the scene, kind of saying this new Western character is going to be a staple and recognized in the Western film genre for decades to come. Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name would become so popular and known with Westerns that many iterations and inspirations would come from the Man with No Name. Did you know that Mandalorian's Din Djarin was inspired by Clint Eastwood? This character is legend, and in Rango, he's known as the Spirit of the West. And if this scene didn't go the way it did, if the camera angles were just a bit awkward, and the music was just a bit off, and the cinematography was just a little bit mediocre, I believe The Man with No Name wouldn't be as popular and such a staple in the Western film genre.